The Rubber Ducks, working with Akron Children's Hospital, are going to celebrate those children battling cancer. Dr. Jeff Hord has really spearheaded these efforts with Akron Children's Hospital with the Akron Rubber Ducks. Jim Fander, GM of the Rubber Ducks, talked about the special night tonight.
It's the Akron Children's Showers Family Center for Childhood Cancer and Blood Disorders celebration night. And this is one of my favorite nights. It's we'll start with a pregame parade, and a lot of the pediatric patients will come in. They'll walk down from Children's Hospital. They'll come to the ballpark. They'll do a lap around the warning track. Dr. Hord will come out. He is the current head of the hematology oncology department, and he does such a wonderful job. But he is retiring this year, so this will be his final celebration night. And what he's done for the hospital is just incredible. So we'll have a chance to send off Dr. Hord and, of course, celebrate all the pediatric patients and their journey and their cancer journey. And so I think it's going to be a really great night. Remember, this is the game that in the end of the third inning, we stop the game and we do a home run for life. So two pediatric patients will have a chance to run the bases, getting high fives from both teams as they line the bases. And just never a dry eye in the ballpark during that event. Just really, really special. And then, of course, we'll have post-game fireworks after the game, and the players will be wearing jerseys designed by a pediatric cancer patient at Children's Hospital. So just a really great event, and really excited for another one event.
That's GM of the Rubber Ducks, Jim Finner. Gosh, I get emotional and teary-eyed just listening to Jim describe tonight. And by the way, kind enough to join us live right now on the show is Dr. Jeff Hord. 25 years of doing this with the Akron Rubber Ducks, 25 years. He's the medical director of Showers Family Childhood Campus, battling cancer and blood disorders at Akron Children's Hospital. And Jeff, you mentioned to me this will be your final trip around the bases, retiring. But talk about this night. Pretty emotional. A lot of work has gone in, and for those families who aren't directly involved in this fight against cancer with these children, they might not understand the day-to-day fight that's going on in downtown Akron.
Right. Well, thank you, Ray, for having me on. It is a big night. This is our 37th year of this celebration. We started in 1988. Also marks, just recently we had kind of our birthday party for 60 years of hematology oncology care at Akron Children's. So it marks a lot of things, but most of all, it marks a celebration for our many patients that are battling cancer or have battled cancer, and also chronic blood disorders. And it's really hard to imagine the types of challenges they have to face when they're given this diagnosis, and not just them, but the family. So that's why we call it Patient and Family Celebration. And it's so important that they have a good medical team, but that they have support from friends, family, and community. And so I always like the fact that we're, an eyesight of the hospital there at Canal Park, but we're right there in the middle of the community, and we draw them in to help celebrate these victories and the bravery that these patients have shown. So it's a great night. Jim outlined a lot of the activities there. This is going to be a record night, too, it seems like. It looks like we're going to have right at 1,500 attendees representing about 300 families. So it'll be a big night.
Well, this is Dr. Jeff Hord from Akron Children's Hospital. And, Jeff, often when we talk about that fight against cancer, we're talking about adults and older Americans. And maybe you can educate all of us about the battle of childhood cancer.
Sure. Well, it is a rare thing among children, thankfully, but it does happen. And, across the country each year, in those under 21, about 15,000 individuals will be diagnosed with a various form of cancer. Our program is a little bit bigger than the average program across the country, and we see right around 100 new children diagnosed each year. Fortunately, with advances in treatment over the last several decades, therapy has changed and the outcomes have changed. And, we have an overall survival rate that's probably approaching about 90% now, long-term survival. But it is a diagnosis that, of course, changes the child forever, but also impacts that whole family and and extended family.
You know, what's interesting, Jeff, when we talk about cancer, in a lot of ways with older Americans, we talk about lifestyle choices and some of those risk factors. But when we talk about the battle of childhood cancer, I guess educate us. Is that mostly a genetics thing that they're battling?
You know, Ray, that's a very good question. It's not, a lifestyle risk factor. It is sometimes genetic, that there's predispositions toward developing cancer, but not, a certainty. And then most of the time, it's just a chance occurrence of, a mistake in replication of cells dividing and multiplying that happens in all of us, all the time. And so we don't really have an exact, cause that we can pinpoint.
With us is Dr. Jeff Horde. Again, he's the medical director of the Showers Family Center for Childhood Cancer and Blood Disorders. We've touched on the cancer side of it. Jeff, talk a little bit about the blood disorder side, certainly, of the family center.
Well, right. So we have about 600 children and adolescents that are under care for mostly it's sickle cell disease and also various bleeding tendencies like hemophilia and von Willebrand's disease. And those are children that are usually diagnosed very shortly after birth. And we really follow them all the way up through to into adulthood at about 21. And, of course, the intensity of treatment around cancer is great, but it's usually a fairly defined period of time. But the difference in the blood disorders is that, that's something they battle every single day for the rest of their life. And so it's a prolonged battle. There is some hope on the horizon. There is hope on the horizon because there are better therapies. In my time in the field, we've seen bone marrow transplant that will cure sickle cell disease. And now there is emerging gene therapy that will be able to cure and can cure sickle cell disease, but also those bleeding disorders that we talked about.
Terrific. Dr. Jeff Horde with us again from Akron Children's Hospital. Jeff, let's circle back for those families who haven't been down to Canal Park for this special night. And you mentioned 30-plus years of doing this. It's going to be pretty special. So how will this unfold tonight? Do a lot of the patients, the youngsters, come on over and circle the bases?
Oh, yeah. So, well, first of all, I want to thank the Fearless Fighters Foundation out of Stowe, which is our primary sponsor to really make this all happen. This is their third year in the row of doing that. And the Fink family, was affected by childhood cancer and really saw the need for support for the patients and families and have stepped forward with this. But today's events will really start, actually, we're going to have, for some of my former patients in the past, we're having a little bit of a pre-party reception that I can meet some of the people that I've taken care of over the last 30 years. And then in the park in front of the hospital, starting at 4 o'clock, the families will gather, and there will be kind of a big party. There's the Sky Circus that's performing. There'll be a DJ, face painters, different activities, and cotton candy and popcorn and all those kind of things. The Doggy Brigade, of course, will be there. The hospital's new mascot, Pip, will be there. And then about 5:45, we all together, all 1,500 patients and families will march down to Canal Park, enter in at the stadium, and circle the bases. And following that, we'll recognize a couple patients that will get to throw out the first pitch. There'll be the patient who won the jersey design contest will get some recognition there. Once the game gets started, as Jim mentioned, at about the end of the third inning, then we have a couple of patients that are selected to do the home run for life, where they will, which is always, kind of the big emotional moment where they get to circle the bases, high-five all the players from both teams, everybody's standing ovation, and not just for them, but them representing really that whole group of people that are joining us tonight, and we end the night with fireworks.
Terrific night for sure. Dr. Jeff Horde with us, again, medical director of the Showers Family Center for Childhood Cancer and Blood Disorders at Akron Children's Hospital. Jeff, we mentioned 25 years, you're going to retire in the spring. I imagine you've seen this fight change a lot against childhood cancer and these blood disorders in the last 25 years, and it sounds like, obviously, for the better as far as changing in the research and the advancements we've made. Absolutely. And, you look back over the last 30 years or so that I've done this, and
and the changes are pretty remarkable. Outcomes are better, and one of the things that's happened is that we are moving away from some of the more toxic treatments. There's still a lot of side effects that go along with the treatments that we have, but those are becoming less as we start to really move more into kind of modulating our own immune system to fight cancer. So we have immunotherapy, and there's now gene therapy, and things that, were not curable when I started out are now curable. So there have been lots of achievements.
Well, Jeff, congratulations. I know you're going to retire. I imagine, just like anyone, this will be an emotional night for you as everything unfolds there at Canal Park. And thanks for all the work you've done. And, gosh, it sounds like it's just going to be a special night tonight at Canal Park. Thanks for getting up with us this morning and sharing the stories of the patients, the families, the work that Akron Children's Hospital has done, and the thank yous, obviously, to the folks out in Stowe and the Rubber Ducks as well. Thanks for this morning.
Thank you for having us.